What is up, people? Dunna here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new piece of software that I've been trying out for the last couple of weeks that I am very excited about. It's Skylum Luminar 4, and I've been using it as a replacement for my normal photo editing software. Now, originally when Skylum reached out to me and said they wanted me to try their new software and they wanted me to do a sponsored video for them about it, I thought, you know what, I'll do a big overview on like everything you can do as far as editing a photo, but it is just way too much stuff. Like, it would probably take me several hours to get through all of the different options that you have with this. It really is an extensive piece of software. So instead of doing a whole overview and making a whole big thing out of it, I'm actually going to do a quick overview and show you some of the different parts and pieces, but then I'm also going to show you 6 of my favorite parts of the software. All right, so one of the cool things about Luminar is that if you're used to other software, it's not going to be that hard of a jump to get into it. So we're looking at our library tab right now. If I choose a photo and I go over to edit, it's going to take a second, it's analyzing, and then we can hop into our main panel here, and we're going to see some things that are very familiar. This is all stuff that we've seen in our other software before. We've got color. We can go through this entire thing and we can see what we can do from a base level standpoint. But there's also some really cool stuff in there like AI enhance, which we're going to talk about later, AI structure. And then on the right hand side here is where it really gets cool. So the first tab is the essentials tab. And if we go down from that, we've got the creative tab. So we got things like sky replacement, sun rays, what they call dramatic. So we can make our photo more dramatic. We've got the matte look, mystical, again, making it look more mystical. We've got Luts, a texture overlay built right into it, a glow, film grain, and we can add fog. So this is all stuff that you would have to take from like a basic editing software into something more like a Photoshop and start adding layers and that kind of stuff, which you can actually do up here. You can add more layers, but it's got it built right in, so you don't actually have to leave the software. Then if we go down from the creative tab, we've also got a portrait tab, so some tools specifically made for portraits. And then below that, we've got the professional tab, so just some more tools that you can use, stuff that, again, you might have to go into different pieces of software to do if you're using other photo editors. So like I said, there's a lot to dig in there. So that's just like a really quick overview of some of the things that are offered. But now I want to get into my 6 favorite things that I found so far. And I'm sure there'll be more that I find later, but these are my 6 favorite things that I found so far in playing with Luminar 4. Okay, the first thing that I want to talk about is just the layout. And this seems like such a simple thing, but I just like the way that the software looks. So first and foremost, when I'm in my library, I can see on the right-hand side all the folders that I've added. The albums are like what you would call collections if you're used to Lightroom, so you can make specific collections of photos that you want to do. The folders are actually folders on your hard drive, so I can go in here and I can add any kind of a folder that I want. So I've got my 2 different days at Victoria. I've already added those. So you click add and it just imports them just like that. And you can see them like this. And I really love the way that this is laid out. It's just nice and big on your screen. You can see it either as a single photo with the bar on the left-hand side where you can view all of your different photos in that folder, or you can view it in this kind of grid mode. And they're nice and big and they're easy to see. It's just, I don't know, I just really like the way that it's laid out. It makes everything seem really simple to get to, really nice to see. You can do your rating and your favorites in the corner there. So number 1 on my list is just the layout, just the look of the software itself. Super simple, I know, but it's just something that I've really enjoyed so far. Now, let's get into something a little bit more crazy for number 2. So number 2 on my list of my favorite things in Luminar 4 is the sky replacer. Now, this isn't something that might be useful on every photo, but it can be something that can enhance your photos and give them kind of a crazy out of this world look if that's what you're going for. So we're gonna choose this photo, we're gonna go up to edit, and we're gonna go into the creative tab. So, and we're gonna go to the AI sky replacement. And all you have to do at this point is choose sky selection after it's done it's run its AI on it and it's figured out where the sky is. Choose sky selection and then pick from one of their automatically included skies. So let's say we go with a dramatic sunset, give it a second to process, and bam, we've got a dramatic sunset. And it's done such a nice job. You can just really dial in the way that it works. So if we relight the scene, it's going to affect more of the bottom part of the scene with that kind of, the golden hour look. Position the horizon. So if we want the horizon to move up or down, we can blend the horizon a little bit more if we find that it needs kind of fine tuning. And if we go into the advanced settings, we can defocus the sky. So for example, if we had kind of a shallow depth of field and the sky should be a little bit out of focus, we can actually defocus it. We can flip it so that it's the other way. The craziest part to me isn't necessarily all of the things that you can do to dial it in. It's just the fact that it doesn't take a whole lot of time for it to assess where the sky is going to be, and it does such a good job of cutting out and putting the sky where it needs to go. So you can do some crazy things with it. If we just reset this, we choose another sky, something maybe a little bit more realistic, a nice blue sky like what was in the original one, or you can go crazy and go with something like a galaxy sky like this. And if you relight your scene a little bit, you can make it look like they were out there nighttime skating and you've just got the crazy, crazy Milky Way in the background there. So again, this is like something that is like a little out of this world, but if that's what you're going for, it does a really great job at it. But moving on to number 3, this is something that I probably will use on a lot of the photos that I edit in Luminar. I'm gonna go to my Essentials tab first, and I'm just gonna choose a profile. This is something that I do in almost any editing software that I use. They give you not only the Luminar default, the Adobe standard, and then they give you your camera profiles. And typically I'll choose like camera standard or camera portrait. In this case, I think camera standard is gonna give me a similar look to what I was seeing when I took the photo on the back of my camera. Obviously, this is a very dark photo, but before I even do anything to our exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, or even the curves, I'm gonna close that and I'm gonna go to AI Enhance. And this is my third favorite thing in this software, is this AI accent. I'm just gonna start to drag this up. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know specifically what this is trying to accomplish, but I do know that AI, meaning artificial intelligence, it's taken a look at the photo and it's accenting the colors and the contrast, and I don't even know what else. There might be more going on in the background there, but what I do know is that obviously you can overdo it. But if you dial it in the right amount, this works on so many photos. It seems to bring out a lot of the shadows, a lot of the main colors in the photo. It gives it a nice contrast curve. Accent is the perfect word for it. It just enhances it so nicely. So just by using that AI accent, no other adjustments whatsoever, we go from what's obviously a underexposed photo that is kind of lacking in contrast and lacking in the nice vivid colors and stuff. And by using AI accent, we've just dialed it in to be what's already a pretty nice looking photo. And the only other thing that I might do looking at this photo is pull down the highlights just where that leaf has a lot of reflections on it and stuff. I might just pull down those just a little bit and then maybe just bump it up just a little bit more on the exposure. There we go. So going from that to that. It's looking pretty good. So AI Enhance being number 3. Number 4, we're actually going to apply to this same photo, and that's moving over into the Creative tab and going to the Matte Look. I am a sucker for that vintage kind of filmic look, and it's really popular right now, and it's easy enough to achieve sometimes if you go into your curves and you start to kind of pull up that bottom of the curve and create a bit of a contrast curve, and then maybe pull down the highs, that kind of thing. You can get it going, but it's never quite perfect. So I'm going to reset that, and we're just going to go over to this Creative tab, go down to the Matte Look, and we're just going to start dragging up the amount. And you can crank this pretty high. And just like that, all of a sudden you've got what looks like a nice vintage kind of filmic. Like, look at what it's doing to the shadows and the nice roll off from black to gray in the back there. And then if you really want to slap it with a faded kind of film look, you can crank up the fade too. Personally, I think you can keep that down pretty low and have just the amount up pretty high. And then even in these nice white, bright parts there too, it's kind of fading out the whites into a gray, which is something that you would typically see on like a vintage film. So we're getting that look with literally just 2 seconds of pulling this up and you're good to go. So going from my dark gray, muted, contrastless, AI enhanced, just a couple of little adjustments, and then our matte look. And all of a sudden we've got this very cool, hip looking vintage photo of this leaf on this mossy rock. Moving on to number 5 is going to be the portrait tools. So we're gonna choose a photo that actually is a portrait. We're gonna make a couple of minor adjustments here to start with. I'm gonna go into my light. I'm gonna pull down the highlights because I obviously overexposed this a little bit on the skin. Just pull down the overall exposure. I'm gonna choose my profile as camera portrait. That's looking nicer. And then I'm also going to use my AI enhance here. Just about there. So let's leave it like that for now, and we're gonna go over into our portrait tab. What we're gonna focus on are these top two. So the AI skin enhancer, what it does is it looks for the face in the scene, the skin in the scene, and it's actually going to do your skin softening for you while trying to keep the texture in the skin. So we're just gonna drag this up to a ridiculous amount. This is gonna be way too much, but just to show you the effect, drag it up all the way. You see that it picked only specifically the skin and softened it in the face, but it still kept the texture. So we're gonna dial that back to a more reasonable amount. And it just saves you having to make like a pile of masks and stuff like this. Is a nice quick way to get this done quick and easy. And you can still edit the mask. Everything that in this whole software seems to have this edit mask button, so you can still dial it in further if you want. And then the next thing that we're gonna see is the portrait enhancer. And this is really cool, the face light option. So it detects where the face is, and you can just add a little bit of light to the face. So instead of, again, having to make your own mask and stuff, it detects it for you, and you can just bring up the light on the face, which is super handy. I can't count the amount of times that I've had to do that just to try and kind of bring a little bit more focus to the face in my photo. In this case, I overexposed a little bit, so the face is already pretty bright as is, so we don't really need that. We've got red eye removal. We can whiten the eyes a little bit, so bring a little bit more white into the eyes so that they kind of pop a little bit more. I really like this eye enhancer. I'm gonna take it way too far again to show you the effect, but it's gonna kind of sharpen the eyes and brighten them up a little bit so that, obviously, like you can see, this is a little bit too far, just a little bit. But it's if you dial it into the right amount, it can be really handy. You can try and remove dark circles from the eyes. Then you've got options like slimming the face, enlarging the eyes, so we can get a little ridiculous with it here, go into kind of anime territory. Eyebrow improve, which kind of darkens your eyebrows. Lip saturation, lips redness, lips darkening, and teeth whitening. So number 5 is the portrait tools. I think it's something that's going to be very handy for people who are shooting a lot of portraits and want to just speed up their workflow, things that they're already probably doing, but they're doing like manually. I think that that's going to be really helpful for a lot of people. And my 6th and final feature that I really like about Luminar 4 is the Pro tab. And this isn't necessarily a single feature, but it is a set of features that I think really take it above and beyond and make it just so much easier to get where you're trying to go. So in this tab, moving back to this other photo here, if we go down to the Pro tab, the first feature that we see is something called Advanced Contrast. Now in the Essentials tab, we've also got something called Smart Contrast, which acts more like a typical contrast slider would, but in Advanced Contrast, we've also got contrast for highlights, contrast for midtones, and contrast for shadows. So all of those can be dialed in separately, which is just super handy to have that much extra control, but still in kind of a convenient way. Next, we've got the adjustable gradient, which would be super handy if you're doing something like, let's say, a landscape photo and you want to brighten up the bottom half or darken the top half. Let's say you've got your skyline needs to be darkened a little bit, or your bottom half where the ground is needs to be brightened up. In this case, it could almost be the opposite. This is just a super handy and easy way to do it. And not only can you change the exposure of that, but you can also change the warmth, the vibrance, you can change contrast, shadows, and highlights as well. So you've got a lot of control, again, in just a super convenient way. And that's really what I like about this. It's not so much that these things aren't necessarily available in some other software, but they just make it so convenient for you where they have them. We've got dodge and burn. So again, making things brighter and darker, specifically by painting them in. You choose start painting, and you've got these parts at the top here where you can click lighten and you can draw in a light part, and then you can click darken and draw in a dark part. Obviously, this is nonsense what I'm doing here, but it's just that easy. This is something that is pretty common for a lot of photographers who want to dodge and burn their photos, so it's just super convenient to get. We've got a color enhancer, so we've got brilliance and warmth, so it's kind of like a color balance after the fact, not necessarily the first thing that you're going to do, but at the end of the editing process. So let's say we've got our nice fade on this photo here and we want to add a little bit of warmth afterwards, or maybe we want to cool it down, make that rock look a little bit colder, or just crank up the brilliance and really bring up the kind of color contrast in this photo. We've got photo filter, which is basically putting a kind of a hue on top of your entire photo. We can do a little bit of sepia tone if we want. And then finally, we've got good old-fashioned split toning. And the nice thing about the split toning is that you can actually dial in the amount overall, so you can turn up your saturation and find where you want the split tones to be. So let's say we want that kind of orange in the highlights, teal in the shadows, and then we can dial it back with the amount or dial it way up. So if you like doing split toning, you've got just a little bit more control here than you might have in some other editing software. Now, like I said, those are my 6 kind of favorite features that I've found so far, but there is so much going on in this software. I've been really impressed with everything that's available and how they make it just so easy to understand. If you're already familiar with other editing software, I think this will be a really good thing that you can hop into nice and easy and start to take advantage of some of these cool features. Like I said, those are 6 of my favorite, but there's so much more that you can go into in this software. Huge thank you to Skylum for sending me the software to try out and giving me the opportunity to dive into a new piece of software. I'm really impressed, and thank you for sponsoring this video. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go check this out for yourself. On your way down there, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.